my friend contacted me this week and said, "Oh no, I've been prescribed prednisone." She's not normally a person who takes prednisone. So when she told me this, she was saying it with trepidation because she's been following me on social media and seeing all of the many warnings that I put out about prednisone. Because I feel that there's not enough information to warn people about how truly harmful prednisone and other corticosteroids are. So when she said, "I got stung by I don't even know how many fire ants on my foot, and it is still red and swollen and I can't even walk on it." So I went to the doctor and they said, "Here's some prednisone." And I said, "What else did they give you?" And she said, "Well, I've been trying to put some creams on there to make it go down." And I said, "But did they give you any epinephrine?" And she said, "No, why would they give me that?" And I'll answer that question as we go through this presentation today. I am Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist, and I'm committed to helping people who have to take prednisone find ways to make it more tolerable so that they can feel well even though they're taking this medication. So, in our prednisone side effects series, today we're going to talk about new research that shows when we should not use prednisone. It all came out just this week. One of them was published on October 1st, 2019, and the other one was at the end of September 2019. So if you're watching this in the future, that might be dated. But if you're watching it, that was just 2 days ago. First, we'll talk about allergic reactions, and then we'll talk about pneumonia. But before we jump into the actual studies, I wanted to lay the foundation of a principle called benefits versus risks. And you can see on this scale, you need to make your decisions in life, and especially when you're talking about medicine, by weighing the benefits and the risks. So you can see on here, should I take a prescription drug? Now, if the benefit side is lower than the risk side, then that's worth it to you, right? The benefits outweigh the risks. It's heavier on the benefit side. There are more benefits. You're feeling better. You can get out of bed. You can play with your children. You can actually walk. You can swallow. You can not bleed to death. Whatever those benefits are for you, if they are greater than the risks, then it's worth it. So the risks are many when it comes to prednisone. There are over 150 side effects. But if the possibility of those side effects is not as bad as whatever you're taking prednisone to treat, then it's worth it. So let's look at a different situation. This is the opposite. So on this situation, there are way too many risks and not enough benefits. So the drug is only helping a little bit, or maybe it's not even helping at all. But the risks, the side effects, all of those miserable things are much worse than any benefit you might be getting. Now, for me and my situation, I was taking prednisone for a bleeding disorder called ITP. I didn't ever feel like I was sick, but I knew that I could instantly bleed to death if I got in a car accident with low blood levels. And so it was kind of this hypothetical, well, maybe it's worth it and maybe it's not. But when I was still on high dose prednisone and my numbers were low anyway, that's when it wasn't worth it anymore because it wasn't working for me. The prednisone was no longer giving me any benefit, but it was still giving me lots of risks. I wasn't sleeping. I felt terrible. I craved tons of food. My face was super round with a moon face. And so in that situation, 9 months after I started the prednisone, it wasn't worth it anymore. The benefits did not outweigh the risks. So that's the foundation we need to understand when we dive into the data. So first of all, this study came out in September. It's about anaphylaxis. And anaphylaxis is a really big word that means in very severe allergic reaction. So this is the type of reaction where somebody's allergic to shellfish or peanuts or something really terrible, and it will close off their throat and make their lips fat and maybe their eyes squinty, and they can die because they don't breathe. They can't breathe anymore because their throat's closed off. Or in my friend's situation, she was severely allergic to these fire ants. And so my question for her was, did they give you epinephrine? Because in this brand new study, it said only 31% of people before they got to the hospital were given epinephrine. And then once they got in the hospital, only half of them were given epinephrine. That's like the EpiPen where somebody injects it in the thigh of the person who's allergic. And so less than half, even once they got to the hospital, had even been given the epinephrine. And that's not good because it should be the first line treatment. Then about half of the people were given antihistamines like Benadryl, things that turn off your allergic reactions. And then 2% were given corticosteroids like prednisone. Well, the research showed that those who received corticosteroids had a 3 times greater admission to the intensive care unit or ICU. And that's a problem because you're probably really sick if you're ending up in the ICU. Now, is this the chicken or the egg? Are the people being given the steroids because they're so bad off? They're doing so terribly that, as one person said on rotation, nobody should die without a steroid. So is that why? Or were they admitted because they were given the steroid? It's hard to know. But their conclusion is that we should always use epinephrine first. So prompt epinephrine is critical. Second is to use antihistamines to support that. And then finally, their findings do not support the use of corticosteroids like prednisone. So we should avoid it when it's anaphylaxis. That is one situation we should not use prednisone. And here you can see, illustrating that all with our little chart, is the benefit is not, there was no benefit shown, but there were risks. You were much more likely to end up in the intensive care unit. All right, now going on to pneumonia. So the top experts in the world on infectious diseases, that's things where we get sick, just came out with a brand new guideline on October 1st for pneumonia. And we're specifically talking about the kind of pneumonia that you get not in the hospital. You get it, they call it community acquired. You get it while you're living in the community. And an infection of your lungs. And so they're saying that if it is a non-severe infection, like people aren't dying immediately of this infection, then they said, we recommend, that's a strong word for them, like that is as strong as it gets, not routinely using corticosteroids like prednisone in adults with non-severe pneumonia. And then they suggest not using it even in severe people with pneumonia or with the flu. And those are all new things, because there was a study a while back that showed the opposite, but none of the studies since then have supported it. So they're changing their minds. Like, this is brand new to not use steroids for people with pneumonia. So if you get pneumonia this winter, and you got it from the flu or you had some other infection, and your doctor gives you a Medrol dose pack or another form of steroids like prednisone, it's not supported anymore. That is against the guidelines. Doctors shouldn't be prescribing that. There's no evidence to support that that's helpful. They did want to make it clear, though, that if you're hospitalized or if your pneumonia is not just an infection, if it's because you're in shock or you have COPD, a lung condition, or asthma, another lung condition, or an autoimmune disease like sarcoidosis, then those are appropriate situations because they have a lot of evidence supporting the use of steroids in those conditions. But if you don't have one of those 4 reasons, then you shouldn't be using steroids like prednisone or Medrol. So let's look at our chart here. So the benefits and the risks. The risks with pneumonia is number one, high blood sugar. What's the problem there? Well, they're going to have to give you insulin. And that whole high blood sugar cascade can lead to so many downstream effects. You don't want to go there. Then you can get a second infection. So you came in because you had strep pneumonia, and now you're going out with Pseudomonas or something terrible because you were on the steroids and that lowered your immune system, or they don't even know why, actually. It's not beneficial. They didn't give a reason, but that's my guess. And so you shouldn't take that drug. There's not enough benefits to use it. So what can you do if you don't have either of those two reasons that you shouldn't use it, but you're a little bit concerned about the benefit to risk ratio? So I created a Nutranize supplement. It's specifically for people on prednisone. And what it does is it improves the risk side of this balance by giving back the 10 nutrients that prednisone steals, so that the benefits can outweigh the risks. I'm not saying it's going to cure pneumonia or anaphylaxis or anything. I'm just saying that it lessens the risk side of the scale because you're giving back those important nutrients. And so you can go to Nutranize.com to get a hold of some Nutranize Zone. You can take 2 in the morning and 2 at night. And it's specifically for people on prednisone to support you in the ways that prednisone is affecting you. And it is designed to reduce your suffering by replenishing your nutrients so that you can recover from prednisone at Nutranize.com. Signing off as Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist.